let's move on to another big topic, which is the impact of social media. Again, we grew up with not only not 24-hour connectivity to people, but we didn't have a view into our friends' lives as much as social media has brought forward. And there's obviously some drawbacks of social media. So let's talk about some of those or positives of social media.
Yeah. The negatives tend to come to mind for me. I see more of the negatives, which is you mentioned people, we have some insight into what other people are doing, but it's only what they show us, the highlight reel. Some people are very authentic and they'll say, oh man, lost my job today, having troubles paying rent. You don't get a whole lot. You get the fabulous vacation pics. You get them showing you all the positives.
Right. So you see the romantic couples, you see the holidays, you see the honeymoons, you see the trips, you see the early dating, you see the engagement photos. You don't see the knockdown disagreements. You don't see the moments of despair. You don't see the exhausted confrontations. You don't see the fact that they only see each other once a week because they're driving away on jobs or careers or whatever. So you just see the highlight reel. And you get a lot of that. You get a lot of that from your clients, right? They talk to you about that sort of stuff quite often of it feels like I'm not getting ahead or it feels like so-and-so, everybody's moving at a faster pace. Well, that's because you're seeing the highlight reel.
Yeah. And I point that out because I do hear that a lot. It's just people feeling, and I totally understand it and it's valid, but feeling like they're the only ones experiencing adversity, difficulties in their marriage or in their families or financially. They feel nobody else is also experiencing that. And I have to point out, well, they're not showing you that. That person in that McMansion might be in debt up to their eyeballs and struggling to make their mortgage. You don't know that just because they live in a big house and drive a fancy car doesn't mean they can afford the big house.
Yeah, just because they have the smiles on their Instagram thing doesn't mean that they're not stressed out beyond all belief with other stuff. And you just don't know. And they might be. Like, you just don't know. That's the thing. The other thing that when we talk about relationships, I think there's all sorts of etiquette or expectations around your social media account that get really messed up. I think one of the things that just sort of makes me laugh is, well, at what point do you actually label a relationship? This is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. And if you label it in person and with friends, do you label it on your social media accounts? Are you in a relationship on your accounts? Do you feature your partner on your media accounts or not? Do you show them so I think there's all sorts of additional expectations around social media inclusion or not. And yeah, is that something you see? I think it is, right?
I do. And this just dawned on me. I was thinking, I would have never got upset with you for not putting a picture of me in your locker at school, right? But people get upset if there's not pictures of them on their significant other's Facebook page or their Instagram.
Well, and that also becomes sort of a red flag in the other direction if someone's unwilling to be shown on your social media account or they want, that I want my privacy. Well, is that because you're living a dual life? Like there's all sorts of I think it goes both ways. Featured too much on your social account, not featured enough on your social account. I think this goes to how do you represent yourself as a relationship in person and how do you do it in your social accounts is a big deal. And it also depends on how you use your social accounts. I could do a good bit on there, but I don't share personal stuff on social media. Whereas other people share everything personal, or at least the highlight reel of everything personal on their accounts. So I think you have a lot of digital friction on social media accounts. Let's talk about behavioral impacts of social media. Doom scrolling, time spent on your phone, minutes turn into hours, turn into days of time just brain dead on your phones where you could be interacting with somebody else. Obviously. And I think you brought a term up for that I had not heard.
Technoference, where the technology gets in the way of whatever it is you're doing. If you're supposed to be having a conversation with your significant other and then your phone makes a noise and all of a sudden you've got your phone in your hand, they're like, hello, we were talking here.
Have we ever experienced technoference?
Of course we have.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about when the internet was coming out and that sort of stuff. Very similar technoference was a thing with internet days, early days on computers. Mobile phones and social media just exacerbated that and made it even worse, right? But there was definitely times where I would spend, I mean, one of my earlier side jobs was web development. So I was very much in early days when you actually had to code websites and it wasn't just go spin up a website. I did a lot of programming, but I also did a lot of just internet searching and a lot of scrolling in early web days where everything was slow. So I spent a lot of time. So I think we had a lot of that. And then I think once we transitioned to mobile phones and that sort of stuff, I think we had to go through, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, of some boundaries we put in around this. But I'm definitely prone to just spending time on my phone, whereas you came to the technologies much later. You do Facebook with friends and that sort of stuff. So you have nightly time that you spend kind of catching up on your social circle, but you don't do it in the moment as much as I do, or as lots of people do. So that technoference, we had to sort of deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't have the Facebook app on my phone.
Right.
And I never post. I think my last post was in like 2018. I don't post. I do, but like you said, I have family on there. We live 3,000 miles from family. So I will look at what's going on. But you're right. I don't spend